Hello and welcome in for our collective week ahead card pulls. It is Sunday evening and I have just been setting and clearing the space here, feeling into which of the decks I wanted to work with for this incoming week and just kind of getting my bearings on, wow, okay, so we're talking about halfway through September now. We're talking about this week being ahead of our second eclipse, this eclipse season on the other end of this week. So with all of that in mind, I think I'm going to go with tonight, sticking with our 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓮 decks. We are, of course, going to use this 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓮 Oracle deck to get us one card to kind of set the tone with a word and some energies. Then we'll pull our 5-card spread for the week from the Guardian of the Night Tarot. Again, we've seen this one at the top of the month. I'm feeling that one today. And then we're going to circle back to the Seasons of the Witch, Mabon, because on the other end of this week, kicking off next week, we'll have Equinox and the arrival of Libra season. So wanting to dip into these Mabon energies as in the Northern Hemisphere, that is what we are celebrating with the turning of the wheel. And I'm going to be setting the Equinox altar this week and wanting to share with you. I know several of you have already signed up for your personal Equinox reading, but that is a seasonal favorite that I have going on that I'll be tuning into for bringing in the messages for Equinox, whether you are in the Northern or Southern Hemisphere. I have a spread for you. So I'll be sharing that this week, highlighting 2 opportunities for us to connect over and above the Empowerment Pack. If you're already with me, of course, you will be receiving the new moon in Virgo reading for the solar eclipse that we're going to be, solar, yes. Woo! Solar eclipse that we have coming in here on Sunday. So that reading is available a la carte for anyone that would like to tune in if you are having an eclipse season for the books. As I know collectively for sure, we have a lot of energy moving and, book ending the other end of this eclipse season is going to be this solar eclipse with the new moon in Virgo. So we've got a new moon empowerment reading available, as well as the Equinox spread of your choice. So we have one for autumn and one for spring. So those are 2 big ways that we can connect more comprehensively here into the season. And I will be sharing some more about that, but wanted to bring that up for you as well. So those are the 3 decks that we're going to be bringing in here, along with the energies of feeling all the greens, emerald, renewal, and recovery as that beautiful balm for connecting in with nature, coming back into the heart, the emerald ray for healing, for renewal and recovery, one of my absolute favorites. And of course, with that, we have this olive energy of hope and positive mindset. So I'm going to bring that in as well, always overlighting these highest vibrational energies that we're tuning into here in this space. And I thank you so much for joining. Let's get started. We're going to tune into the Urban Crow, see what word and energies are coming forward to set the tone for this week, culminating with that eclipse coming up a week from today. Ooh, all right. Oh, perfect. Beautiful. We've got community coming in here. So a lovely energy and also feeling that poppy energy for remembrance and for holding from that base, from the roots. This is a gorgeous energy of coming together in community. So that is setting our tone here for the week. Let me get that up here. And then we will tune in for our tarot messages with our 5-card spread. So here we are with our collective energies for this week, where you are always invited to take what resonates, leave the rest. That's how it works with the collective reading. There's always someone else there to pick it up, but I do love to hear from you in the wild, wonderful, and weird ways that these cards never cease to amaze us and come around. So let's see what we have coming in as we bring these out. If you are feeling called for a personal card pull this week, please feel free to reach out to me. You can quick reply here on Marco Polo, or if you're seeing this in one of my social media spaces, just reach out in whatever way works for you, and I'll be on this week in divine timing for a card pull just for you. Okay, Monday sets the tone for the week ahead. So let's see which tarot energy coming to us from the Guardian of the Night. Ooh, sticking with some of those pages. I know last week we had that highlighted as well. Page of Swords coming in here. So we've got Page of Swords starting us off. Of course, after this, we'll tune into some of the energetic weather in the cosmos as well to see how that can be coming in. Oh, do you see that? I note the eclipse at the top there. So we're getting some eclipsean energy, new moon as well coming in here. And then I know there's some energies with Mercury and such. So that sword is definitely giving me that sense of our communication, our thoughts, ideas, and new messages coming in around that with this incoming eclipse. Okay, Tuesday, that potential block or challenge. A potential block or challenge this week coming in through the collective. Let's see here. Ooh, there we go. Page of Cups. Messages coming in. There's a lot of nature speaks, universe speaking, tuning into these energies collectively. And there is this new energy coming in on the back of these eclipses. So we've got back-to-back pages here. So now we have the Page of Cups, Swords and Cups, air and water. And that adorable capybara. I know we've seen him already this month. Okay, so with those two pages, how about Wednesday as a midweek blessing? What's coming in here with Wednesday's midweek blessing? Oh, the star is back. Look at this. So note that we had Friday culminating in the star. I came in and shared some thoughts and, heartfelt messages for humanity, for collective energy, in the energies of the star, remembering that it was in the Raven's Dream version of the star. Here again, we have the Guardian of the Night's take on that beautiful star energy, which is the energy of hope, healing, renewal. And I'm definitely seeing a theme with the poppies. And if you did catch my messages from Friday, you know that I pulled from another beloved deck from Poppy Palin. So definitely getting some goosebumps here with some of these synchronicities and confirmations coming through here, even just from, the messages. And I know they were a little longer. So if you didn't see those, here on our Empowerment Sharecast, if you're seeing this on one of my social media spaces, I did not share those messages on YouTube or, Instagram or Facebook. So if you would like to hear what I was bringing through as messages of hope and healing for humanity, some card pulls that we did, they are on my free September Empowerment Sharecast. So I encourage you to check out the link that'll be here below the video you're watching to come on over and check that out if that speaks to you. Okay, Thursday. How are we growing? How are we growing this month through this eclipse season, specifically this week? What opportunities for growth are coming forward? Thursday's energy. Oop. Oh, got a couple dropped out there, so we're going to reset that. Thursday, how are we growing? One card, please. One card for Thursday's how we are growing. Five of Pentacles. Okay, so that's a beautiful card. So I see a little caterpillar energy there down at the base, and yet this wisdom of, I'm definitely getting messages just looking at that from our higher self, from our wise selves, as we're going through this metamorphosis process and as we hold space for our higher self and team spirit, you know, just coming in with this unconditional love and compassion for meeting us wherever we are, whether, you know, the caterpillar to the butterfly, you know, throughout this metamorphosis, and as we encounter others on their journeys and wherever they may be. And oh, let's have a little matchy moment. So feeling that hope, positive mindset coming in there with this energy for sure. Beautiful. So we'll keep those together. These are nice big cards, so they take up a good footprint here. One spot left for our Friday energy. Then we're going to pull our Seasons of the Witch 𝓞𝓏, setting the stage for what comes next in the following week. Turning of the wheel, and gosh, Libra season already. Early happy birthday to those Librans. Okay, Friday wraps up the week. What do we have coming in here for Friday? Ooh, oh, beautiful. 9 of Cups. To get the Star and the 9 of Cups in the same week, wishes fulfilled. The card of wishes, this hope, positive mindset energy, and this gorgeous peacock, strut your stuff, show your true colors, energy of the 9 of Cups, which is just beautiful. That is really, really lovely. So that is definitely very nice to see here in this week. Okay, let's finish things off with our pull from Seasons of the Witch 𝓞𝓏, anticipating the turning of the wheel with Equinox. What's coming forward here now? Okay. 𝓞𝓏 bringing forward tobacco, card 40. Feed your ancestors, raise the sacred smoke to them, for they are hungry to connect. Yeah, wow. I'm definitely feeling this connection here between this, like I said, the owl to me is feeling like higher self, team spirit, and yes, it is time to start talking about the ancestors. This is my favorite time of year. Of course, they're always around us, but connecting in with ancestors, we're coming into a beautiful time for that. And I'm going to share more about that, some of the decks and things that we'll have as we move deeper and deeper into this incoming season. But very curious to hear the connection between tobacco and these messages. But also, again, it's just like, jumping right in. Don't mind me. Yeah, you know, as we talk about the caterpillar and the butterfly and where we're finding ourselves in this metamorphosis that we're undergoing as a collective, as humanity, and holding space for all stages of that process. So some beautiful cards coming up today. Can't wait to dive in. Let's roll over now to some energetic weather, take a look at what's coming in astrologically, and we'll keep rolling forward. So thank you so much again for being here. Let's get to it. All right, let's kick off our messages with some energetic weather, what's coming in from the cosmos this week, and how that is relating with the cards that have come forward here. So first, we're going to kind of just check in with yesterday. I want to highlight, I don't think I mentioned this last week, one aspect was September 13th, Sun conjunct Mercury. This is feeling connected in with our pages, so I wanted to make sure I mention Sun conjunct Mercury, it's always a time of clarity, new insights, new information, ways of clear thinking that can be found here in this energy. And this is really a power time for problem solving, reviewing paperwork, expressing yourself clearly to others. You could try some journaling, see what new and deeper insights are waiting to rise up. Mercury will surely deliver some messages if we're open to receiving them. So, like I say, I feel like these pages, especially that Page of Swords, just kicking us right off this week, is definitely highlighting for us this opportunity for some new clarity, new information, ways of clearer thinking. Now, along with that, September 18th this week, Mercury enters Libra. So Mercury, the messenger of the gods, leaving its home in Virgo and moving into Libra. So we may feel more creative with this shift or find ourselves daydreaming new ideas and inspirations. Oh yeah, see, now that's the Page of Cups. So I love that. Mercury in Libra is also a great time to bring beauty and aesthetic into our lives. Yeah, I was just feeling that. I'm just starting to get out my autumn decorations and items this week, and spent a good amount of time today kind of, prepping my space and everything for bringing out some of my favorite aspects. I love to, just kind of bring in all of those little fall feels around here. And as I said, this is perfect because I'm going to be setting our equinox altar. So right on point there with that energy for sure. Next day after that, we have now Venus entering Virgo, September 19th. So Venus moves into Virgo, where we're encouraged to turn our attention to self-care. Venus in Virgo wants us to look after our mind, body, and soul. It wants us to treat our bodies as temples, as they are, as they're the home to our spirit, right? This is a great day to schedule some perhaps beauty treatments, to start a new healthy eating plan, and to listen to our bodies. Venus in Virgo can also help us to get organized when it comes to our routines. Now that feels really good because, Virgo season as a whole has presented opportunities for us to focus on all those areas. So this is kind of really giving us a nice, strong finish to Virgo season. As I mentioned, this is the last week of Virgo season. We're going to be kicking off next week with Libra season. So great time for each of those things to just kind of check in where you are and see where perhaps you can bring in some of that into your life. Now, Sunday. So again, we'll be meeting here on Sunday, which will be the actual solar eclipse. So I wanted to talk about it now so that you kind of had that heads up on these energies as we're just dipping in. And again, extend the invitation to you if you'd like to join me for a new moon empowerment reading, where this will be eclipse edition number 2. And speaking of number 2, this is the number 2 of the new moons in Virgo as well. As I've been talking about, that first one we had at 0 degree Virgo, this one coming in at the 29th and final degree. So September 21st, Sunday, solar eclipse in Virgo, the last and final eclipse of 2025. And this is a beautiful one, this solar eclipse here in the sign of Virgo. Whatever has fallen away from our lives under that blood moon can now turn into fertile soil. This solar eclipse promises new beginnings and can help us to wrap up those loose ends from earlier in the year. So this is a powerful new moon eclipse for setting intentions, particularly around our health and well-being. There's also some strong karmic energy attached to this eclipse, where we may find ourselves needing to take responsibility for our actions, or to perhaps move through some challenges that feel difficult or even unfair. The grounded earthiness of Virgo will help us to move through this methodically and practically. So again, this is where we can tune in for that new moon empowerment reading. We'll have a secret spread that I'll choose along with the selected decks and altar elements. There'll be a ritual, all the astrological weather. So that is one that we could work together on to really get some more depth into how you can work with this powerful new moon eclipse. And so that wraps up our messages from the cosmos, but just again, putting a pin in it that when we meet, we'll be getting ready for that turning of the wheel with equinox and the arrival of Libra season. So let's kick things off now with our Urban Crow Oracle message of community. All right, so our Urban Crow message that came through is this beautiful card of community. And as I take a look here in the Urban Crow Oracle, it's speaking to this card being inspired for MJ Cullinane of her home area of the Seattle area, Washington state, that they have 3 big roosts. So the largest, she believes, is the one at the UW-Bothell campus. Each of these roosts serve as a community. It is a sanctuary. It is a place for the crow to retreat to in the evening where they are accepted and comforted. So the message that she brings through with this card is to lean on your community, to lean into the groups of people that you feel most at peace with during times of friction or stress. Beautiful and so needed. And I think just setting the tone for this week and knowing as we are still, riding the ripples of all of these events that have come forward on the other side of the eclipse, the blood moon eclipse and the 9/9 portal, and just this process that we're moving through right now as a collective, as a community. And I think that there's a lot of beautiful symbolism you can dive into in that, not just, for, of course, the collective, for yourself personally, and, really connecting in with community. And again, I just wanted to touch on, I love the poppies. And as I said, we see them a couple of times in our cards this week, that some of the symbolism of the poppy are around remembrance. They speak to sleep and dreams, death and consolation, rebirth and renewal. In Christianity, for example, the poppy can symbolize resurrection, eternal life. It touches on beauty and success. There's a lot of Greek Roman mythology connection to some of the different gods and goddesses. So maybe we'll talk about that as we get into the week. It's got a very big connection to, it's one of those evenings around here where everyone's home and very excited for incoming meal time. So I will be taking a break here for those who are listening live, but we'll pick right back up rolling into our week ahead. But yes, there's, a parallel, of course, to the World War I, remembrance, depths of symbolism to be gleaned here, but really coming back around full circle to the importance of, now more than ever, community, and for connecting in as a safe resting place to your roost. And I think that's a beautiful symbol of, where are the roosts in your community, and how can you not only, seek out and connect with those places, the groups of people that you feel most at peace with during times of friction or stress, but if unable to find one, how can we make one? How can we be one? How can we create that roost, that sense of community, whether we are talking about in our physical and immediate spaces, or of course in places like this where we found each other across the World Wide Web and connect here. Because this is always going to be a safe roost for you. So what a beautiful card to start us off. We will be rolling into our messages for the week now with the Guardian of the Night Tarot. All right, let's get into these cards for our collective messages this week, starting with Monday, where we have the first of our 2 pages coming in here. Quite perfectly, quite aligned. Let's just say that. Definitely making a lot of sense to me as we just talked about the astrological weather. This one coming in as the Page of Swords with, again, those poppies at its feet, and a nod to the incoming solar eclipse for that new moon in Virgo as well. So we are going to take a look here through the lens of the Guardian of the Night for this Page of Swords. And in it, MJ says she chose the black-footed ferret, thanks to a backer's suggestion. This adorable creature is also one of the most endangered and was once considered to be extinct. Well, the Page of Swords is about fortitude and, well, I think climbing your way back from extinction shows a whole lot of fortitude. The Page of Swords has the heart of an activist as passion, conviction, and a quest for truth collide. When this card appears, it may be a signal that it could signal to you a situation requiring you to confront a difficulty or get out of your comfort zone. The page energy creates tests or lessons that stimulate growth. When combined with the sword's energy, your test centers... Sorry, I just lost my spot completely. Centers around beliefs. All my little pages around here are so distracting tonight. So, the page energy creates tests or lessons that stimulate growth. When energy creates tests or lessons, combined here with the sword's energy, your test centers around beliefs, your ability to see a situation clearly, and/or your ability to speak truth to power. This hurdle may seem overwhelming at times. However, if you possess the mental grit to find success, the wisdom you gain from this experience will create a whole new world of opportunities. The Page of Swords represents youthful energy and may also indicate that although you are passionate about fighting for something you believe in, there is a risk of being perceived as immature or possessing a childlike idealism. The ferret brings a playful quality and is known for its inquisitive nature. Call upon the ferret when you need to win over others, as this curious creature will provide you with the energy to do your research. When you call upon the ferret, you find engagement with others will yield important information, as you will find the questions to the answers that will solve your problems will pop right into your head. So this is bringing in the energies of curiosity, playfulness, and resourcefulness. Well, here we are entering in September, right? We have the School of Thought, and this was my studious energy that I brought in with Archangel Jophiel, for beauty and wisdom. And this is an energy too for students, for, learning and endeavors of learning new things, of the mind. And so I really like this card setting us into the week. And of course, I'm coming in here. I just had dinner with my family and the kids and just listening to them and talking to them. And of course, we've been having a lot of conversation, especially this week with all of the things going on in the collective, all of the things that are showing up on social media, wanting to keep that dialogue open with them. And I think that it's really very appropriate that we start off the week with two pages that are highlighting the swords, the mind, the thoughts, the beliefs, the ideas, and clarity of thinking, and the cups, the heart, the feels, the emotions. So this is really, and I'm just bringing in that energy because I think that there's such an opportunity right now for us all to learn from each other, but especially the youth, and understanding that. And I think that, again, this is going to hit everybody differently, and in your neck of the woods and from whichever schools of thought from which you come, you're going to have different perspectives to share, to contribute to the whole, to the community. How am I going to express those things? And how can I effectively land my thoughts, my beliefs, and my ideas in the energy and frequency of community and coming from a heart-centered place. And I think it's interesting that this black-footed ferret is one on the brink of extinction, because we are talking about the dying out of old schools of thought and old ways of being, and the ways in which the youth especially are taking the charge on introducing us to new ways of thinking and believing and connecting and communicating and expressing. And I like the way that the foot is actually standing on the sword, because again, when we think about using our words as a weapon versus physical, confrontation or, weapons, that we're being shown this new way forward, which sometimes in the last gasp of an old way, an old school of thought, an old way of being, or that which can no longer stand, we may see that lash out. We may see that come in harshly and sharply and abruptly and swiftly and in ways that can be shocking and surprising and all the things. And how can we use that to learn, to up level, to bring in something that brings in through this remembrance. Again, the poppies are really, really popping for me tonight, seeing that symbol coming in here for our contemplation this week. So we'll carry this into the potential blocker challenge this week, which asks you to drop into your heart through the lens of a page. So let's take a look now at Tuesday's energy. All right, Tuesday, bringing in our second page, capybara energy, coming in strong with this Page of Cups. We did have this one. It was probably the first week of September when we first debuted this deck. But we're going to bring it in now through the context of this week. Page of Cups. If there is one word that ties together the energy of the Page of Cups and the capybara, it is loving. The power you hold in your hands when you draw the Page of Cups card is one that will help you find the good in others. It will help you mend broken relationships and form romantic bonds. If you are dealing with a difficult situation or someone who is, let's say, challenging, to be polite, then the Page of Cups appears. You are best served by taking a softer, more gentle approach. Tap into your intuition, get a feel for the energy you are dealing with, and work to ease friction instead of irritating it. When you encounter the Page of Cups, expect inspiration to come from the unexpected places as it relaxes our biases and opens our hearts. The person you discounted yesterday may turn around to be a valuable source of information that will help overcome an obstacle. Before I began the illustration for the Page of Cups, says MJ, I researched friendly, quote, animals, and the capybara topped the list as the friendliest creature on the planet. They are also the largest rodent in the world and can weigh up to 150 pounds. These semi-aquatic social creatures possess a calmness that comes from being comfortable wherever they go. The world is their playground. Other animals in the area, perhaps taking advantage of the good-natured capybara, will hop on its back for a free ride across rivers and streams. Because the capybara lives along the shoreline, dividing their time between the river and land, they pull together the elements of water and earth to create an animal that is emotionally sensitive to others' needs, while at the same time grounded and confident in its position. If you feel out of balance or disconnected from your soul center, call on the capybara, as this loving energy will be your guide and help you find your way across flooded emotions. So the capybara is bringing forward friendly, compassionate kindness. Beautiful. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I think this week is just so heavily overlit by the energies in the collective, and where many of us spend so much of our time is online, right, and in social media spaces. And if you have a healthy balance going on, a process where you limit that exposure, where you have that's wonderful, and kudos to you. And that's something that I've definitely been feeling the pull to become more aligned with as well, intentionally. But what I'm tapping into now is that, when we come into, and this is sort of like the Page of Cups is one who wears their heart on their sleeves. And yes, there is an idyllic energy to the Page of Cups, like a hopeless romantic, or in love with love itself, or this, and what could be sort of even mistaken as, naivete and softness. And yet they're deeply feeling and deeply sensitive to emotion and the feelings of others. And so that is something that has to be protected and respected, as well as letting it carry you to bring that softness in a much needed harsh world, And so I think that that's a challenge. Well, let me rephrase that. I know that's a challenge. That is a challenge. So for those of us who are feeling that, hands down, potential block or challenge this week is bringing forward that love, that compassion, that softness in the midst of harsh environment, and also those things that might hitch a ride, and not to allow that to be taken advantage of. To speak, yes, your mind, to speak your truth through the lens of love and compassion, and for the better good of the community, right? Remember the roost coming up in this beautiful card, overlighting these messages. So, just really feeling that, yes, that can be challenging, all while we have an opportunity to sort of lead with the heart, but also, summoning in that Page of Swords with the ferret to bring truth and clarity and precision to the way in which we engage the energies that are out there, and that can be a challenge for sure. So again, as we go through these cards, any of them jumping out to you or your unique experience and the way that you are, tapping into these messages this week, if you would like a personal card pull, please let me know and we'll feel into that more specifically for you. Let's go on now to our Wednesday card for our midweek blessing. All right, Wednesday, midweek blessing. Once again, the beautiful star has come back, now here showing fully as a blessing, and like I talked about this on Friday, again, the cards and the messages that I pulled through, and also, mentioning that this star is what comes after the tower, from the destruction and the despair and all of the things that can come on the back of the tower comes the star, hope, renewal, and healing. So let's feel into, once again, poppies making themselves known, the energy of the star. When I think of the star's energy, the word grace comes to mind, and of being at peace with oneself and the world. There is a quiet confidence woven into this card that brings to a situation a firm knowing that everything will be okay, even when confronting the most challenging struggle. When you open your heart to the star, when you allow its vibrant, bright light to wash away any self-doubt, any negative feelings that once kept you pinned down will release. A new sense of empowerment will instill within a feeling of being nimble and capable of overcoming any obstacle. Call on the deer to help you connect with the energy of the star, as this sensitive yet strong creature with its heightened senses establishes a feeling within of being connected to the planet, of being in tune with your surroundings. And when you are given the star's gift, lean in to its illuminating presence, and a feeling of confidence will be restored. So the deer speaks to intuition, confidence, and protection. So beautiful symbolism here. I was just in a personal card pull this week, someone had received a beautiful card that included the stag or the deer with the antlers. And there's a lot of beautiful symbolism in antlers as well, growing from the crown and reaching out into the universe. So there's this connection with all that is. There's a very spiritual connection in those antlers that's showing us always very connected to the cosmos, even when it's as far away as a star, that seems so far out there and outside of us. And this notion of wishing on a star or following our true north as if it's some, far out thing that can be, seems so distant and difficult to ever reach, and yet, and I know I talked about this in other messages about the hermit this month, and specific for the 9/9 portal, I talked about it. And, this being the year of the hermit, card 9, major arcana, that the hermit carries that lantern. I'm curious what the hermit looks like in here. I don't know if it's going to have a lantern or not, but I'm just going to seek it out while we talk, because, typically in a lot of the versions of the hermit that we come across, the hermit is holding a lantern, representing its inner light. And I've heard it beautifully compared to the notion that that star, that far out there North Star, that thing that we're looking at as though it's so, distant and separate from us, is actually reflecting back to us our own inner light. And so it's already with you, right? That's that message of the power is with you and has been all along, right? And so that we're very connected in with that message of, keeping your eye on that prize. Oh, it's a beautiful card, but no lantern. Okay, let's just look at it for fun. The hermit here is the spider, which is really cool because we talked about the symbolism of the spider's web and the medicine of spider, about this choice that we have, a sovereign choice as to whether you are going to get caught up in the sticky web or be the architect of your own web, right? Of building strand by strand something that you are taking a conscious connection with. So when we talk about those things that we are wishing and hoping and aspiring to, and again, all while we're moving through the messages of that poppy symbolism and remembering, from where we came, or touching into some of those key words that I shared about rebirth and resurrection and new possibilities and new potentials being on the horizon. I think there's a blessing here. I want to say that it's like faith in humanity restored. There's a sense of something coming in that shines a light. Again, this is Wednesday's card, but this is a story that we're weaving throughout this week in terms of, tuning into that frequency. And again, from the inside out. So let's take a look now at Thursday's energy for how we're growing. All right, Thursday is bringing in how we are growing. This is the Five of Pentacles, and I'm very intrigued. I've seen this card before in previous times working with this deck, and I know that there's a unique message in this that I think is going to be super appropriate to the energies that we're tapping into collectively this week. And specifically, again, reaching out to this hope and positive mindset with this caterpillar medicine. And again, the owl and this sense of wisdom and more. So let's listen to this take on the Five of Pentacles. In a world where support should be abundant, where the powerful should help others rise up, but instead block the way, the Five of Pentacles indicates a time when you may feel more like the prey instead of the predator. The caterpillar wants nothing more than fulfilling its destiny and moving into a state of metamorphosis. However, blocking the path is an owl, the symbol of wisdom, the symbol of authority and power. You may be experiencing a time of difficulty when you lack the resources you need to thrive. This energy leads to a downward spiral quickly if left unchecked, one that will have you feeling like an outcast and not accepted. It starts with the loss of a job or income, then it's the inability to care for your health. Before long, the troubles mount, and finding a path back is more challenging, but not impossible. As with everything in life, this too shall pass. Usually, this card comes as a warning, as a signal that you are straying into an area that may lead to a series of unfortunate events. Be aware of how setbacks are influencing your life. Are you patient with yourself? Do you see the opportunity to grow from the experience? Are you able to see beyond your current troubles? Call on the caterpillar when you need trust in the process, when you need the patience to give events that will turn your life around, the time and space to unfold. The caterpillar is all about embracing change. If it didn't release the fear of metamorphosis, it would never know the thrill of flying. So the caterpillar here is transformation, growth, patience, and faith. And the owl, wisdom, is coming in as protection, authority, awareness, and guidance. So, I think this is super powerful. It's specifically stating right out of our mouth, the intention for this card is how we are growing. And this card is talking just about that. This notion of this opportunity to allow yourself to grow and really checking in with where we are in that process. And, it's brilliant because what we see up here is other chrysalis, this notion that other caterpillars have already made it up here and are already in this next stage of transformation and metamorphosis. But this one is feeling that it's being held down under the looming predator, and it's this energy of authority and power over it that is not supporting it, it's not feeling seen and supported and able to move freely into this next stage. And so I think it shines a light on perspectives of all kinds. And in other words, it may not be your lived experience. It may not be something that you see immediately in your orbit. And yet there are others who are moving through other experiences, and other circumstances. And the notion of also, if you are coming from a place of feeling in some way held down or prevented from fully expressing yourself or moving forward in your growth, and it can seem as though everybody else or all of them over there already have their pentacle, already are in their chrysalis, are already getting to be on their way and getting this advantage, or this, there's this perception of us and them, right? And yet, if we're being invited to step into the lens of each of these perspectives that we see here, because there's wisdom to be gleaned from each one. There's understanding and growth to be found in allowing yourself to expand beyond your current purview, what you're able to see and perceive. Or again, tying it back into messages that we've already been touching on in terms of, and the idea that those in positions of power and influence don't feel like they're there for you or supporting you. And there's this, again, continues to stir and perpetuate the illusion of division and separateness, and the way in which each of the characters that are showing up here are playing their role to a T to bring in, remember our pages, usher in this new wave, this new frequency of awareness and understanding. And so it's not lost on me in terms of the way in which you can apply this into our collective and then now bring it into your personal, unique experiences and see how that may be speaking to you. From a practical standpoint, it mentioned that the Five of Pentacles can be that sense of being on the outs, whether it's financially or in our health and well-being. So yes, it can bring in, a downturn in our finances, or in some way, being unwell, whether we're talking about illness or injury or something that can be sort of like a downturn or a shadow moment. But what comes on the other side of that is, because this is also a card that can feel like FOMO, this fear of missing out, or, not being included, seeing that, others are already up there well on their way and you're still stuck down here under the, the foothold of this, what represents an authority or something that is preventing you from being able to realize your fullest expression, which is where we're heading for Friday here in a moment. So, but on the other side of that is JOMO, the joy of missing out. The idea that something that's not meant for me or isn't my cup of tea or isn't, again, think about community, think about those roosts, think about how we were invited to connect in with like-minded and feathered friends, or feeling this sense of connection that perhaps we're not feeling in this crowd. And so again, it perpetuates a sense of separateness and division or exclusion that we have an opportunity to kind of flip on its head and see from new perspectives and allow these experiences to teach us, what is this showing up for me? And, so much that we could expand on in that. But I think the Five of Pentacles is really beautiful because often it asks you to look up, to detach from a sense of separateness, of lack, of, poor me or why me, or any sense of things that can have us trapped in that illusion, when oftentimes, what's meant for me will never pass me by. And so there's this opportunity to shine a light on a way forward, a way upwards and outwards is what I'm feeling there. So again, if there's some sense of a door closing for you, or something being denied you, or, something of that nature, it's often setting you up for the next most aligned thing that's coming in just for you. And with that, let's move into our Friday card, the card of wishes. All right, finally Friday, coming in here to finish out the tarot spread with the Nine of Cups. So we see that we have a beautiful peacock here strutting its stuff, this card of wishes. So as we wrap up this week and prepare for then on the other side of it being this solar eclipse, the new moon in Virgo coming in, the Nine of Cups says, the wish card. The Nine of Cups is a license to kick back and enjoy life. Look at what you have been able to achieve. Can you feel a sense of pride? Take a moment to spread your feathers and show the world the awesomeness that is you. don't be shy. You have worked hard and are now in a position of feeling complete and total satisfaction. Take a moment to exhale and appreciate the rewards that have come from all the hard work you invested in. There will be time to get back to business, but for now, enjoy some of the abundance you created. The Nine of Cups asks that you lean deep into the feeling that comes from receiving a desire or having a wish fulfilled. The peacock can change its appearance dramatically just by opening up its feathers, and as a result, our perception of the bird changes as well. It instantly becomes more prominent, more vibrant, and more impressive to watch. The peacock's energy will help you show off your flashy side, that part of you that exudes passion and is self-assured. When a situation requires a boost of confidence and feelings of pride, call on the peacock. This energy comes in especially handy during a job interview when you need to boast or articulate your success to others, or when you meet your ex's new partner. When you need to show that you deserve to have the attention of all the room's eyes, this energy will put your brilliance on display and others will take notice. So yes, the peacock representing showy pride, passion, and sensuality as it is shared here. But in general, yes, the Nine of Cups is about wishes fulfilled and, and feeling that sense of if there's 9 cups, as we see here, we have all these cups. That's a lot. That's a lot of emotion. That's a lot of feel. So that can also run the full spectrum of feelings. So that can mean, yes, you have an abundance of emotion. And of course, those emotions can, fall anywhere on that spectrum. So it can be showing that you're moving through processing a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions, and that's perfect, because that's exactly what to do, is use that. So if you're coming from a sense of that 5 of Pentacles, of being in a state of lack or disempowerment, or in some way feeling like, you're struggling to get ahead or just to be seen or to be noted, and yet use that, right? Use that emotion, but we're endeavoring to raise the frequency. We don't want to live there. So you can feel those lower vibrational emotions, which include anger and disgust and maybe despair, all of those things. Use those things to help you to raise up the frequency and step into the new, into the next, and then, strut your stuff, because you have light to shine. And how can I shine my light? And how can I step into my fullness of being, And so I think that, is every wish going to be fulfilled this week? Hey, maybe for some that something really is coming into its fullness here this week. Something on the other side of that sense of being down and out, or in some way, just wishing and wishing and hoping, and now boom, something falls into place that now is, opening up. Absolutely. But there's still some clouds there in the background, because there is this sense of things that are still becoming clear. And I think the other thing is, as we mentioned, this new moon, this solar eclipse is beautiful for making wishes, for setting intentions. So that's the other thing. Even if we're not on the, full painted picture where we've actually, it's all come full circle, this could be the very beginning of you outlining for yourself, what do I want? What do I desire? And maybe those things have changed in light of this new information, this new clarity that's come in for me. We talked about the astrological weather this week. We talked about Mercury bringing in on several fronts new awarenesses and clarity of thinking. And so let that inform you. Let that help you to have greater clarity and understanding on exactly what you wish for in your life. And are the things that I'm putting my time, my energy, my talent into helping me move in the direction of my joy, of my wishes, or not? Because if it's not, it's got to go. It has to get cut away because we need to create space in order to tell the universe what it is that we wish to see in our lives, in our immediate areas, in our communities, and in our wider world. So there's this sense of, what are you wishing for? What are you hoping for? What are in your cups? And, really bringing that into focus as well. So I think that's a great start to setting the tone for this new moon, and the ways in which you can also connect in with that for setting some real intentions and planting some seeds in your life through this eclipse. And then also on the other side of it, with the turning of the wheel, as we step into the new season coming in, again, wonderful opportunities for you to dig a little deeper, to work a little more closely with this energy just for you. So that's where, again, if you would like some help with that, we've got a new moon empowerment reading on offer this week, as well as the Equinox readings, where we have 2 beautiful spreads, whether we're talking about autumn or spring, that are really good at bringing some intention in to look back on the prior season, where you're coming from, and what's serving to be, the fertilizer, or what's falling away, so that you can create something new in your life. So, beautiful messages coming through. We've got one more yet to go with that Seasons of the Witch Mayban Oracle. So let's bring that one up now. All right, our final card for this week's messages is coming in from the Seasons of the Witch Mayban Oracle, and it is card 40, Tobacco. Now, tobacco says, feed your ancestors, raise the sacred smoke to them, for they are hungry to connect. And it's highlighting these key words of purification, connecting to the spirits or ancestors, respect. It says your higher self chose this card because it's a request from the ancestors or spirits with whom you are most comfortable to approach them and the people in your life with more respect and humility. Offering tobacco is a sign of respect and connection for the ancestors in many cultures. Perhaps it's heard about most often in Native American traditions, but it is also a common practice for many peoples from Africa, South America, the Caribbean, and Southern United States. When you greet the spirits that support your path, remember they can see things that you cannot. They can make space where you have faced walls. They can lift you up and carry you over difficult terrain, and they know answers to important questions you haven't even thought of. There are people in your life who also have value and can fill in the blanks with a new perspective that you have not considered. What your situation requires is an open mind and to acknowledge your limited knowledge or understanding in your situation. The tobacco card invites you to spend more time listening and being engaged with others. You may have been too quick to dismiss someone as being wrong or silly, or have viewed someone as being unworthy of your attention. Keep a watchful eye out for a younger person coming into your life, as they may offer something that is needed for your situation. Wow. So we begin and we end this week's messages with the energy of youth. Powerful. Goosebumps. So we had those pages come in, the Page of Swords, the Page of Cups, and now we finish things off with tobacco. I didn't see that one coming. A young person coming in with something you need to bring in this connection, and you see what is old is new. We're talking about connecting with our ancestors and with spirit, and something new and novel coming in through the energy of these pages. So that is incredibly powerful. And again, I noted that we see here the caterpillar and the butterfly or the moth in this card because there's this metamorphosis going on. And we talked about this last month, August. We had our channeled words of from the deep to the leap. And we were focusing on that transition from tadpole to frog, and this idea of, like them with the caterpillar to the butterfly or moth, moving into that chrysalis and literally turning to mush. We are in the mush. We are in the dark. We are in a time now where we don't know what it is to be the butterfly on the other side, and to truly spread our wings with freedom and with liberation and with the next awareness that we just don't have. And I think that that is so important now more than ever, to be able to have your own unique perspective and your lived experience, which is everything, which counts and matters and should be heard and deserves to be expressed and held, and to hold space for that, all while you acknowledge that there are infinite number of souls just like you, having their lived experience and their perspective and their point of view. And when it can be so difficult to understand, one of the things I was getting was, was definitely getting the vision of the peace pipe here with this tobacco, and as we talked about the indigenous and others who have this beautiful symbolism within their culture and their expression, that like the peace pipe, another beautiful symbol is the talking stick. And I think now more than ever, we need to tap into some of those beautiful energies, because if everybody is talking and then they begin to yell and shout over top of each other, nobody's message is landing. So again, bringing this into the wider collective and some of those, louder tones that are very difficult to hear anything other than at this time. That again, within your own community, right, within your own roosts, bringing in this energy of the peace pipe and the talking stick, and this beautiful opportunity for us to tap into the ancestors, while also knowing that the youth are carrying a very important message for the future. It's a beautiful bridge energy that we're in. And yes, in fact, being in the state of the chrysalis is the bridge from the caterpillar to the butterfly. So I think, infinite ways that we can tap into these messages, and some really deep potential for soul growth, healing, and expansion. And of course, just how does this relate to me this week, and how might this show up for me? Tap into this message as this opportunity for us to connect in with the ancestors as well as the youth and the future, and really be thinking about what you want your smoke signal to be that you're sending out into the world. So big messages, beautiful messages, lots coming in this week. So like I said, if you would like some more personal guidance and would like a card pull just for you, please reach out and let me know, and I will send you that video recorded card pull for you and the specific ways in which these things may be coming forward for you this week. If you're interested in working together more comprehensively with the new moon empowerment reading or an equinox reading, check out the link that I'll be sharing here, or reach out to me and we'll get you all squared away. So thank you so much for being here. I'm sending you much love and many blessings. We'll talk soon.